Devendra Gujrati from Spectrum Control L2 support team and for Asia Pacific. Today I'll be presenting you an overview of Spectrum Control, formerly also known as Tivoli Productivity Center, known as TPC. Before giving you the overview, we'll just go through this agenda. Today we'll be continuing with the storage family introduction, a spectrum control approach, like addition and learning components, spectrum control in internal functions, replication and copy services. Before we start, I'd like to give here a brief introduction of the spectrum family of where spectrum control is a part of it. In this family, most of the products are related to and are associated to storage, like Spectrum Protect and Backup and Archive, Spectrum Scale for file storages, Spectrum Virtualize for SVC SAN volume controller, and storage product. IBM Spectrum Archive is for archives solutions. I'll be moving to another slide. This slide give you an overview of how flexibility and scalability of Spectrum Control. Having a single management console, you can do health monitoring, storage and capacity management, alerting and notifications. Monitor performance of your storage and SAN devices. You can save historic performance and capacity data for analysis. You can also get reporting by using Cognos reporting. Earlier, replication, where you can do flash copy, Metro Mirror and Global Mirror for disaster recovery, were part of Tivoli Productivity Center before Spectrum Control, before Spectrum branding. We will cover the brief overview of replication in the coming slides. In the next slide, I'm just giving you a brief overview again of the Spectrum Control editions. What do we have? We have 3 editions: the basic, standard, and advanced editions. There are various functions provided within these editions. So, basic edition is used most probably for the cloud and for the virtual centralized cloud integration system and virtualized environment. Standard and advanced editions are widely used for infrastructure management of SAN and storage environment. We can also carry on capacity planning, performance monitoring, reporting, discovery, alerting, and notifications with standard edition. Advanced edition is an extension to the standard edition, where we can have policy-based access automation, tiered storage automation with predictive analysis, service-level-based self-service and API provisioning. With respect to licenses concerned for Spectrum Control editions, the basic edition is a free-of-cost edition, and you can use it. The standard and the advanced editions, which are most used, are licensed based upon capacity and tiered licenses. Just to give it more details, like IBM Spectrum the Control Edition license is priced by capacity, and there is also IBM Spectrum Controls Standard Select Edition, which is priced by storage enclosures. Similarly, your Advanced Edition is also priced by capacity, and Select Edition, Advanced Select Edition is priced by your enclosures. We now move on to the Spectrum Control architecture slide, which will give you the overall overview of how it is used. This is a pictorial view I've given, where you can see your storage devices, your SAN devices, your servers, your hypervisors. So overall architecture where Spectrum Control communicates with various devices using CNOM agents, which are inbuilt in your storage devices, also using SMR agents, which has to be installed on the servers also. Spectrum Control manages your disk storage, your SAN fabric switches, hypervisor servers using various SIMOM agents. We can see Spectrum Control GUI dashboard and Cognos reporting GUI. Now that we have seen how Spectrum Control communicates with storage devices, we'll see the internal components used by Spectrum Control. This slide is a comprehensive, brief discussion about the various servers views within Spectrum Control, and this is very important. There are internal components used by Spectrum Control which work hand in hand and carry various tasks like data server being a control point. It takes care of scheduling functions, configurations, event informations. The device server discovers, scans and communicates with your storage devices for data collections. Web server, being a WebSphere application, it hosts the GUI. Alert server does the alerting work for your storage subsystems and has an ability to detect and be notified about configuration changes related to capacity performance within the storage environments. JARS for service management and Tivoli reporting is an optional product, though it is inbuilt within your Spectrum Control. It is a reporting tool which is used to create reports. You can have your predefined reports as well as you can customize your reports. You can get those reports in various formats, that is your CSV, XML, your PDF formats. Another important and major factor or component of Spectrum Control is DB2, where it maintains all the repository of Spectrum Control. So DB2 is a database used to maintain the repository. There are various agents which are used, the storage resource agent, the CMI agent, the SNMP agent, where these agents are used to gather the host applications, storage system on the host, and SAN fabric information which are sent to the Spectrum Control. The common interface to work with Spectrum Control is the web-based GUI, from where you can manage your enterprise storage environment. Spectrum Control also has a command line interface, which is having a limited usage, where key Spectrum Control functions can be used. From here, we will move to our next slide. We'll start. This slide is about the Spectrum Control dashboard. So once you log into your Spectrum Control, you'll get the following dashboard, which will show you consolidated information and aggregated health status of all your storage environment. So if you see the slide, you have your storage systems where you can see a file and block storages, your storage consumers where you have your department, the hypervisors, application servers, also the network, the fabric, and the switches. You can get the details of it. You can get the alerts, warning on it, how this overall health report is presented on this dashboard. Moving to our next slide, the initial starting of how you can add your block storage device to Spectrum Control. So Spectrum Control also takes care about adding your devices, that is IBM devices and also non-IBM devices. So you can add a block storage device by simply selecting storage devices from the menu of Spectrum Control GUI. Based on your storage device, if it is an IBM or non-IBM, you can select the storage device. It will prompt for your connection information for the storage system and schedule the collection of data. Now, it will prompt for your connection information is, it will ask for the IP addresses, it will ask for the username password, it will also ask for your communication port number. Now, ensure the port number used over here is proper. You ensure the port number used are proper and they are enabled on your firewall. Refer to the reference links provided, where it will give you the various port numbers used for Spectrum Control and which has to be selected for specific devices, storage devices. Moving to our next slide. Once you connect your block storage to your Spectrum Control, on clicking the storage device, you'll get the following dashboard, where it will give you the details of all the storage parameters, like the condition of the storage device, probe status, your probe schedules, probe physical allocations, pools. You can also further increase those columns and get further matrix by selecting the drop-down menu from the filter option, next to the filter option. Now that you have seen the adding of storage device, we will further see how we can view the performance monitor of the storage device in the next slide. So just by adding a block storage or the storage device, now you want further information with respect to your storage, what it is doing, how it is how is the health of my storage device, how the performance monitor is there, how it is performing. So you select, after clicking the right-click the block storage on the dashboard, once you go to the block storage system, it will give you a drop-down menu with various options, like where you can view the properties, view the details, view performance, capacity, export performance data. You can export it to various, if you want, on the screen or to a file. So right-click the selected option. You will be selecting the view performance, which will provide a performance details on the selected storage. You can view the same in the next slide. So I've given the detail in my next slide. I have a detailed information about the performance, where this is a way it will show you the performance of a block storage. Now there are two. If you see the graph, there are two graph parameters in the color, red color and in a bluish color, where it is for your two storages, performance monitors and our data collection jobs that collects metrics for measuring the performance of storage system and switches. You can get performance monitor in the web-based UI when you add resources for monitoring or at a later time. So by selecting the block storage from the dashboard menu, you can select storage and see the detailed properties of the block storage, like the firmware pools, probe status, etc. This performance is for two block storages which are added in Spectrum Control, where you can see total I/O rates and overall response timeout in the graph. By selecting the matrix, additional matrix can be viewed. Refer to the link provided to get more matrix details. Likewise, you can also view historic PM data on the historic retention, or the historic, you can also save it for a historic retention period in Spectrum Control. So if you see on your right hand side, there's a matrix option. You can just click the plus sign, and you can go ahead and add the matrix you want. Further, we can go to a granular level to get performance monitoring in our next slide. Over here, you can see the various, this is an SVC output, or you can say a storage output, where it has various nodes, various I/O groups, ports. You have your managed disks, your pools, your volumes. All this can be monitored, and all this can get a performance report at a granular level. So this is possible with Spectrum Control. So in this slide, you can go further into view and get performance monitoring at the granular level, where you can view performance monitor of I/O groups, your nodes, ports, managed disks, pools, and volumes level. We will further see how Spectrum Control will provide us information in case of any warnings, critical issues, or events in our next slide. Now coming to our alert. Alerting is a very important part of Spectrum Control, as I mentioned earlier. So we have now block storage is allocated. You have defined the block storage in your Spectrum Control, but how do you get this information, whether you have any issues or not? So alerting plays a major role in Spectrum Control. So being an important part of Spectrum Control in your storage environment, it could be a disk storage or a fabric or a SAN switch. In case any issue occurs, there is an alert generated based on the settings provided, like warning, error, or an event is generated. Alert also generated if there is any changes to your disk storage capacity or any deletion of space. So if you see how the alerts are enabled in this, so you can pick up whichever alerts to be enabled, and you can also set the notification you want. So in this slide, we have provided and how to enable the alerts by going to alert options. Also, you can set alert notification to your email ID. In the next slide, there is a bit more details I'll be giving where how the alerts are seen. Here we can see that the alerts which are generated or some alerts which are triggered by condition that commonly occur and can be ignored. In such a case, you acknowledge these alerts to indicate that they were reviewed and do not require immediate attention. So by acknowledging alerts, you can more quickly identify the other alerts and in list that must still be reviewed and resolved. Further, we will also see how these alerts can be notified to various monitoring tools in the next slide. So on this slide, if you see, there is a consolidated view where you can have the alert conditions, you can sort the alerts, you can also have the hyperlinks in case of a warning. It will also give you the warning messages in details and what warning it is related to. So going to the next slide. The alerts can be also, as I said, it can be emailed to you. You can also have set up SNMP. So to receive consolidated notification and alerts of all monitored device, you can also set them to use monitoring tools like Netcool and Omnibus. So till now we have seen block storages, how we can view the performance monitoring, setting up the alerts and notification. We will further see the fabric and SAN management in our next slide. As per your block manage, you can also have your fabric management also done, where at a single location or a single dashboard, you can manage all your fabric and SAN switches. So on selecting network menu from the Spectrum Control GUI, you will get a consolidated view of SAN switches, which can be managed similar way as your block storage. View performance, properties, etc. Brocade and switch communication, which communicates with SMI agents or SIM agents. You can also have a Brocade Network Advisor installed. That is a Network Advisor, which can be installed on another server. Refer to the switch compatibility link provided. So most of the switches which require communication, Brocade switches communicate with the BNA, that is known as Brocade Network Advisor, or you can have a Network Advisor, which can be you will getting it from the Brocade side. So now that we are done with the performance monitor and management of storage and SAN switches, we'll move on to capacity management in our next slide. I'll just take a break, give a moment. So coming to capacity management, the capacity management is frankly speaking, it's not a straightforward job. From Spectrum Control, you can do capacity management and generate reports, which is based on many factors and matrices available for block file storage, file server, and servers. From the above example, you need to consider the physical allocation, capacity, available capacity, thin provisioning, compression, the tiered storage pools in using, and also the tiered distribution. So you need to refer to the knowledge center of capacity management. So over here, this slide just gives you an overview. What all storages you have, the physical allocation it is having, the total tier, the tier it is using, the capacity, the compressed capacity. So your knowledge center, there are various metrics available for capacity management also. So knowledge center will, if you go to knowledge center and get the details, it will help you in getting the capacity management also. Going to our next slide. Similarly, as the capacity management there, you can get the reporting. So In my initial slide where I told you that Cognos is also part of spectrum control, Cognos reporting, we can get more details report from Cognos. Though it's an optional part of spectrum control, it is still embedded within the software where you can install it. So Cognos reporting is an optional part of spectrum control. If installed, you can get predefined reports. Also, you can get customized reports. Reports can be generated on schedule or on demand in multiple distribution formats, that is your XML, email, CSV, and PDF. So we'll go through an example of Cognos reporting in our next slide. So here is an example of storage virtualizer. This is an integrated predefined Cognos report of one of the storage, that is storage virtualizer. So overall summary, in this example, the detailed report of storage virtualizer, this is a predefined performance report where you can see various details by date and time, total I/O, and response time. Data rates at the bottom of the reports, you will get the detailed information of storage performance report. So if you see there are various graphs at where you can also drill down through the details at the bottom of this report, which will give you the consolidated understanding of various storage devices it is using. The detailed performance metric is all in the column view. Further, move to storage resource agents and agentless server. In the next slide, I'm just presenting this SRA agents from spectrum control and agentless server management. These are two important factors where we have seen we are able to manage block storage, that is storage devices, and SAN storage. But what about the host which you have? You have AIX host, you have Windows, or you have Linux host. So what is if you want to manage those performance on it? So SRA agent, that is known as storage resource agents, are agents which can be deployed on the host or the server to collect asset and configuration information about server, and it is used to monitor internal server storage from spectrum control. So the difference between SRA and agentless, the only difference is like you don't have to deploy it. So agentless server is server which is monitored by spectrum control. You can view, monitor storage details and performance of storage that is mapped to the server without deploying the SRA agents. So that is an agentless server management. So in case of an SRA, you can monitor them, but you have to deploy it. But in case of agentless server, you don't have. You still can still monitor them, but you don't need to deploy it. So there are two things over here: deployment and non-deployment. So moving to the next slide, I'll be taking up replication over here. Replication, though it was a part of older versions, that is TPC for replication was a part of Tivoli Productivity Center. Since the change in brand name to Spectrum Control, TPC for replication has been renamed to the separate product called Copy Services Manager. It has a separate license, but yeah, it can be continued with TPCR licenses, that is, or TPC for replication licenses. So Copy Services is a new product for your application. So just to give a brief overview of our application, so if you see, we have a TPCR server, that is also a Spectrum server, you can say for now. You can have the TPCR GUI, where you can control your sessions, your application thing. You can also control it from your CLI. And this application only works within your storage. It's nothing to do with your switches also, it is within your storage. Okay, Copy Services Manager is based on TPC for TPC technologies and inherits all the capabilities. So moving further, we'll have a brief description about the replication in our next slide. So when you see, this is the Copy Services overview. Copy Services which occurs with your TPCR or CSM, Copy Services Manager, is handling those services. So it is possible, Copy Services or application plays a major role in disaster recovery. The application takes place between two storages or between storages. So flash copy is one of the copy services feature where it is a point-to-point copy which can be created on the target volumes within the storage. We have Metro Mirror. This application takes place between two sites within 300 kilometers distance. Replication is done synchronously, where once the data is written to the source storage, it is immediately copied to the target storage or device, and it's kept, so the volume is kept updated with the same data. In such conditions, the data from the target site can be used for recovery. In case of a global mirror, replication is an asynchronous remote application that operates between two sites that is over 300 kilometers from each other. Asynchronous mirroring means that the target volume on the remote side is updated in few seconds after the changes are made to the source volumes on the local side. So the recovery is possible, but we'll have a lag in the data on the other side. With this, we will have an overview of Copy Service Manager in our next slide. Copy Service Manager is a fully licensed product, which has a built-in of TPC replication technologies and inherited all the capabilities. So if you see, once you have the Copy Service Manager, which is exclusively used for replication purpose, this is nothing to do with your spectrum control or TPCR. This is exclusively used for replication purpose. So you'll get this login screen as Copy Services Manager, and on the first dashboard where it will show you the replication servers, your sessions. The green means the sessions are established between the two servers. So with this, we come to an end of our spectrum control session overview. I have this reference slide. You can go to these links and understand in more details. You can also visit the Knowledge Center if you search for Knowledge Center for spectrum control. Thank you for all your support. If you have any questions, you can paste these questions in this chat. Thank you.